Council of Tuesday, January 2, 2024 shall come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before I ask for approval of the agenda, I'd like to welcome new council people, Beth Ann Schumacher to my right, and Creighton Schmidt to my left, and re-elected Mark Ebling to my left. Welcome, folks. Now I'll ask for approval of the agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Dana, that we approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. To the consent agenda, I want to talk briefly about Resolution 2401, which is C on number 3, the consent agenda resolution to approve participation in Winnebago River Watershed Management Coalition Agreement. It was on December 7th that I attended a meeting at the request of Cynthia Farmer, who is from the Center for Rural Affairs in the Des Moines area. And she is one of those that works with the DNR as well as the USDA in creating watersheds in the state of Iowa. As you may or may not know, there are several watersheds, and I do believe that was in your packet that you received, that you can see outlined there. However, the Winnebago River does not have a watershed, and that is what this meeting was for, to create the Winnebago River watershed, and that will be finalized, I do believe, at the next meeting, which we haven't been told when that is, but it should be within the next month. But what they need is a 28E agreement, and of course that's when all government agencies work together, are working together and deciding on some issues. That 28E agreement needs to be signed, and that's what we're asking tonight, is for the council to agree to sign that 28E agreement, which is within the consent agenda, excuse me. And so within that consent agenda, we have a copy of the minutes of December 18th of 2023. We need approval of the bills and claims, of which you have a copy. And we have this resolution 2401. I'll read it again. A resolution to approve participation in Winnebago River Watershed Management Coalition Agreement, and of which we are a part. I did not say that, of which we are a part of. You know, our little Clear Creek runs over into the Winnebago, which goes on down, I believe, and runs into the Shell Rock thereafter. And the following licenses and permits: liquor license, Class C retail alcohol license, that's with the Surf Ballroom, and that's a renewal. I'll entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Mark, that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Now is the time and place for any citizen in the audience who wishes to address the council on any issue or item that is not on the agenda. Please approach the podium, state your name first and last, and give your address so the clerk can properly enter the minutes. This is not a discussion time, nor a question and answer time, but it is a time for you to address the council, and you have 3 to 5 minutes. None appearing, we'll move on to unfinished business, of which we have none. We will directly to 6 new business. 6A, I-35/South 24th Street Water Tower Painting Project. Review of bid letting, which was the 19th of December of 2023, and recommendation to make an award of contract by Scott Flory, our city administrator. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, refer to the orange sheets in your packet for this item. The first orange sheet in your packet is a letter of recommendation from the project consultant we're using on this, Dixon Engineering. Mr. Tim Wilson, who's the project manager, giving a letter here indicating his recommendation that the council award the contract to O&A Classic Coatings and Paintings Corporation of Hearst, Texas, in the amount of $295,500. On the back side of that is just a copy of the notice to award. So following the council's approval tonight, we'll sign that and send that back to them. But you can kind of see a bid tabulation breakdown of how they arrived at their bid of $295,500. On the next orange sheet, a resolution adopting the plan specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost for the 2024 water tower painting project. If you recall, at the November 6th council meeting, the council had set the date for the bid letting and the hearing on this project. And so, again, the bid letting was conducted on that, and we got 11 bids on it, so very positive response to the bid announcement. The resolution there in your packet would make an award of the contract to A&O Classic Coating of Hearst, Texas, and again, in the amount of $295,500. Then continuing on with the orange sheets, again, just a reminder of the notice of public hearing on the plans that we had published in the Mirror Reporter, as well as the Mason City Globe Gazette. So as I mentioned, we did have a good positive response, 11 bids on this project. Bid letting was December 19th, 2 o'clock at the water plant. As I mentioned, the lowest responsible bid was from A&O Classic Coatings of Hearst, Texas. Ironically, the second lowest bid was also from Hearst, Texas, of ONJ, I believe, was the name of that company. But bids ranged all the way from the low of $295,500 to a high of $644,000, with that highest bid being submitted from TMI of St. Paul, Minnesota. Just in the way of a reminder, of course, we talked about this a few times already, the project construction schedule will call for the project to start in April, maybe a little bit earlier of this year, depends on the weather. Of course, that's the optimal time for this kind of work to be done on the tower, because the tower, of course, has to be drained. Again, it's going to, the project generally entails, of course, pressure washing, removing any foreign material, prepping anti-rust breakthroughs, and the exterior be completely overcoated with one layer of primer and then 3 layers of epoxy paint. And then the logos and lettering will be applied after that final coat has then cured. So I don't have anything further prior to the public hearing on this one, unless anybody has any questions.
Coat of painting internal as well as external?
Just spot on the inside, so just some spots, that a little bit of rusty spots in there, but not a full recoat on the interior, just the outside.
States a primer coat
Yep.
and then 3 coats of
Yep.
epoxy.
And then the lettering.
Any other questions of Scott, Council? Thank you, Scott. Now is the time and place for the public hearing with regard to the I-35 South 24th Street Water Tower painting project. If there's anyone in the audience that wishes to address the council on that particular project, please approach the podium, state your name first and last, and give your address so the clerk can properly enter it into the minutes. None appearing, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the I-35 South 24th Street Water Tower Paint Project.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Bennett, that we close the public hearing with regard to the I-35 South 24th Water Tower. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2402, a resolution approving the plan specs, estimate of cost, and form of contract.
So moved.
Moved by Beth Ann, seconded by Creighton, that we approve the Resolution 2402. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Mark?
Yes.
Creighton?
Yes.
Beth Ann?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
And Dana?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2402 is duly adopted. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2403, a resolution making an awarded contract, and that's to O&A Coatings and Painting of Hearst, Texas, in the amount of $295,500. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mark, that we approve Resolution 2403. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Creighton?
Yes.
Beth Ann?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
And Mark?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2403 is duly adopted. B, Emerald Edge subdivision rezoning, Hamilton Real Estate Group Apartment Project, review a request and recommendation from Planning and Zoning Commission. Mr. Flory will intro here.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Then Mr. Ritter can follow me. I know Chris Terry also wants to say a few words as well. So just in your packet, the green sheet is ordinance 879. That ordinance would change the zoning classification for this 8.54 acre parcel from C1 intensive commercial to RM20, which is medium density multifamily residential. So tonight would be the first of 3 readings on that ordinance, and if we hold all 3, we'll go, the next reading will be on January 15th, and the final reading would be on February 5th, and then we would publish that in the newspaper after that. The purple sheet, and Mr. Ritter can review that momentarily with you, was the letter of recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission. They took this matter up for consideration at their regular meeting on December 20th. The gray sheets that follow that just included the chapter from the city's zoning ordinance that pertains to the RM20 zoning district classification. So you can kind of see the parameters of the zoning district for the change here. Continuing on with the gray sheets, the notice of the public hearing that was published in the Clear Lake Mayor Reporter as well as the Mason City Globe. And then I've also included just the legal description of the property and a depiction vicinity map, if you will, that shows the property that's proposed for the rezoning. And you've seen, again, the just kind of a elevation of what the proposed apartment project would look like, and then some more preliminary information related to the site itself prepared by the civil engineer for the project. So again, just as a way of reminder on this, at the meeting on November 29th, the council had referred this proposal to the Planning and Zoning Commission for review and recommendation back to the council. This is again to propose the change in zoning from CI1 to RM20. And so they, again, the commission took that up at their regular meeting on December 20th and have forwarded their recommendation. As we mentioned before, of course, the rezoning is necessary to enable the construction of a roughly 90-unit apartment project on this 8.5 acre parcel. There is, I think I alluded to at a previous meeting, on also there is a height variance being requested, and that's actually on the agenda for tomorrow night for the Board of Adjustment here at 5:30, because the building itself will be 4 stories, so it will require a height variance from the city's Board of Adjustment. And then really the final step in the process, we have the rezoning, then we'll have the Board of Adjustment for the height, and then the final step in the process is the site plan consideration by the Planning and Zoning. So those are really the 3 steps there as far as the building process is concerned. And then just lastly, as a reminder, of course, we had just recently had started the process on the urban revitalization plan that would provide for ultimately a 10-year, 100% property tax abatement for the project as an incentive. That's all I've got. I know Mr. Ritter can review the recommendation from Planning and Zoning, but if anybody has any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer those.
Scott, first,
Yeah.
that on the map, that whole area outlined in blue is part of the 8.5 acres, I assume?
That's correct.
Across?
Yep,
Yeah.
the heavier blue, yep.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else for Scott? Thank you, Scott. Mr. Ritter, Clear Lake Building Official, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Makes it easy to follow Scott when he's able to so eloquently present everything for me and stuff, too. At our meeting on the 20th, Mr. Terry with Hamilton Real Estate Group presented his request to there, and we knew from, had review it from what we had for the zoning request on that, too. The only thing that initially had come up was we had some people ask about if it needed to be a higher density, and it did not, because the size of the lots and the number of square footage per, I say not lots, but the number of units that are in there, it more than adequately fits it for medium density. So that, in a sense, balances out what they're looking for, some houses on the west side of that same development too. So we're keeping a balance and consistency from the CI1 to the RM20 on both sides of that. So it's kind of a nice balance of what we have for what we need to do for doing that. But at our meeting, everything went smoothly, no questions. Nobody came to the meeting to have any concerns or anything from the public, and the Planning and Zoning Commission approved it. Any questions or?
Council, any questions for Mike? Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. Now is the time and place for the public hearing with regard to the Emerald Edge subdivision seconded by Creighton, that we close the public hearing with regard to the Emerald Edge subdivision rezoning. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. Now is the time, ask approval of ordinance number 879, an ordinance amending the official zoning and land use maps of the city of Clear Lake, Iowa to rezone certain property from CI1 intensive commercial to RM20 medium density multi-family. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Mark, that we approve ordinance number 879. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mayor, I'd just like to add a couple of quick comments. First of all, Chris, I want to thank you for coming tonight. Really very excited about this project and how it's moving along. And of course, all these are necessary steps we have to take to do it, but just really appreciate your involvement and Max, and hope he's doing well in Florida. And so thank you so much for coming. Appreciate that.
First of all, I want to say this will be the first of 3 readings on this too. And I too, several of us did go up north and see what these might look like here by those that are already done and being occupied. And I, for one, was very, very impressed, certainly with the people who are doing this, who are in charge, Mac and Chris Terry, who is here tonight. Well done, great relationships that we've had with you, and the product is quality, in my opinion. Anyone else?
I would just like to echo Bennett's comments. I also had the opportunity to meet with Chris and Mac. Just excited. There's multiple housing developments on the agenda tonight, and this is a very quality one. Excited to work with Chris, Mac, and all of the Hamilton Real Estate Group.
Anyone else, either in the audience or council? None appearing, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing with regard to the Emerald Edge subdivision rezoning.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Danish, seconded by Creighton, that we close the public hearing with regard to Emerald Edge subdivision rezoning. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same. Motion carries 5-0. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 879, which is an ordinance amending the official zoning and land use maps of the city of Clear Lake, Iowa to rezone certain property from CI1 intensive commercial to RM20 medium density multi-family. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Beth Ann, that we approve ordinance number 879 on the first reading of 3. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Beth Ann?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And Creighton.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Ordinance number 879 is approved on the first reading. Thank you. 6C, Emerald Edge Townhome and South Shore Estates Housing Projects Financing Review. Mr. Flory, welcome again, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The pink sheet in your packet addresses this item. As Creighton just alluded to just a moment ago, we've got a couple of exciting housing opportunities on the docket for tonight, and this is the second one for your consideration. This is essentially a resolution that establishes compliance with certain IRS regulations related to reimbursement of our, in this case would be the general fund, from the proceeds of a subsequently issued bond issuance for these projects. So what we're proposing here is ultimately, if you recall, we have a commitment. We haven't approved the development agreement yet, but we anticipate doing that very soon. For both of these projects, the South Shore Estates residential subdivision project taking place on South Shore Drive, as well as the Emerald Edge Townhome project that will be in the Emerald Edge subdivision via extension of North 14th Street. So our contributions to these projects, $400,000 contribution to the South Shore Estates project and a $500,000 contribution to the Emerald Edge Townhome project. So what we propose to do is make payments to the developer from cash on hand, funds that we have on hand, and we then propose to subsequently issue debt and reimburse ourselves in those funds from that subsequent debt issuance. So that's exactly what that resolution does, and establishes compliance with reimbursement bond regulations under the Internal Revenue Code. So we have not issued a lot of longer-term debt previously, but in all the cases, we have done this step where we essentially internally float our contribution in this case, and then again reimburse ourselves later on from a longer-term debt issuance. So I don't have anything more to elaborate on that. Like I say, I mentioned the South Shore Estates development agreement. Do anticipate that could be coming before you at the next council meeting on January 15th. The Emerald Edge Townhome project probably shortly thereafter. But so we know the South Shore Estates project's well underway, good positive construction going on there. Infrastructure, of course, the weather's been very conducive to the development out there in terms of the infrastructure being placed and the homes being built. And the Emerald Edge Townhome Place project, they're going through their consultant selection process, so they have issued an RFP, and I know they've gotten a couple responses back from local engineering firms to serve as the civil engineer on that project. So again, hope to break ground on that one in April as well. So I'm not sure when the longer-term debt we will issue on this will be, but probably more like April or May timeframe. So it'll take place within our fiscal year 24 budget.
I've said this before, and I'll probably say it again, and I'm so pleased to be saying it, is that, it wasn't too long ago that we were really hurting for any type of hope in housing coming to Clear Lake. And now we have in process at one stage or another, 3 of them either coming before us or which have come before us, and one which is in actual physical progress, and that's really good news to my ears, and I would think the community as well. Something we've been looking for, and it's not just this town, but it's a lot of towns, practically many of towns of our size in the entire Midwest, not just northern Iowa or Iowa. So thank you for those who are bringing this forth and putting it into action. That's what we want. Any other comments? Thank you, Scott. Appreciate that.
I just make one. He'll be embarrassed to have me say it, but many of these things happen because we have good local banking institutions, and we have some present here this evening, and they are involved with some of these projects, and they've been very helpful to making them happen. So I just want to recognize them as well.
And I would just add too, Mayor, I totally agree with your comments. I think what's amazing here is that, we talk about housing being kind of our number one strategic need in the community, and now we've worked hard, again, as you point out, Scott, with the help of local banks and other folks to create that pipeline, and that's just very exciting to see with a real nice mix of housing types, and I think that's a important thing to keep in mind. And that's going to be very much a positive for Clear Lake moving forward. So totally agree with your comments, Mayor. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would say that during the campaign for council, everyone who was running all knew that housing was a need for the community, and that's because a lot of people in this community realize that that's a need. So it's great to see this progress, to hear the progress, and to see it. You can see it already progressing over there on right by South Shore there. So it's great to see all that. And then another development that we're talking here in Emerald Edge. So great to see what could happen and what is happening already over in Emerald Edge as well.
Being done by tested developers. That to me is very, very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crucial.
Thank you, Mr. Flory. Or would you like to say something?
No, that's it.
Oh, I thought. All right, therefore, I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2404, resolution related to the financing of proposed projects to be undertaken by the City of Clear Lake, Iowa, establishing compliance with reimbursement bond regulations under the Internal Revenue Code. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Creighton, seconded by Mark, that we approve Resolution 2404. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Bennett?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Creighton?
Yes.
And Beth Ann?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2404 is duly adopted. 6D, demolition and interim site work at 2010 North 4th Street, formerly Woodford Wheeler Lumber Company. Project update. Review, once again, Mr. Flory.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. To start out with the yellow sheet here in your packets, a resolution approving the contract and bond for the 210 North 4th Street demolition project. If you recall from our meeting on December 18th, the council had awarded the construction contract for the work to Charleston Excavating of Clear Lake in the amount of $168,144. That was 4.5% more than what the engineers estimated the probable cost of construction, which was $160,864. Just as a reminder, we did have 4 bids on that project, and of course, Charleston was the lowest responsible bid. Again, as a way of a reminder, the demolition, of course, entails the demolition of the existing 21,500 square foot building, removal and disposal of that debris, removal of existing building footings, foundations, and backfilling, compacting the site. And the interim site work also includes stormwater drainage. And then we're going to bring in aggregate surfacing and place it over the property so that it can be utilized for off-street parking purposes during the interim period. So should be ready to go. The interim completion date is February 3rd. Met with the contractor this afternoon. We had a pre-construction meeting and talked about the schedule for the project. So he's actually starting tomorrow, following approval of the contract and bonds tonight. We'll give him the green light on that. So tomorrow he'll be about 7:30, doing mostly hand work, he said, kind of on the inside, so probably not any actual physical demolition of the structure itself, but kind of inside, doing removal of steel and metal and things like that inside, and probably start by next week with the actual physical demo of the building itself. But should be, he thought maybe 3 weeks, maybe a little longer than that, but should not have any problem meeting the interim completion date, which is February 3rd, so that'll be available for the Color the Wind Kite Festival on February 17th for additional off-street parking. And as we know, if the last year is prologue to what this year's will look like, we'll need it, because that was a big event. So. Again, working the way through the packet, the brown sheets are the notice of award, so that we have served to Charleston Excavating, again indicating that council had awarded the project to them. Project, of course, requires performance bond, payment bond, and maintenance bond, so that's all accomplished on the next brown sheets in your packet. And then, of course, the certificate of liability insurance, meeting all the contract specification requirements, naming the city as additional insured. And then the last brown sheet is just a list of the subcontractors that are going to be utilized for the project. There are a couple of trees that are going to be, they're actually dead, but they're going to be removed to put the storm sewer in the right-of-way by the Clausen property. So we did have the owner of the Clausen property here for the construction meeting. Is certainly supportive of removing those trees, and we'll wind up replacing those with a better tree for that location after the storm sewer is installed. So the yellow sheets to follow that are the agreement between the city and Charleston Excavating for the project. So we'll approve that and send that back following tonight's meeting. So other than that, I don't have anything further on that. Happy to answer any questions.
They may be flying those kites out of boats.
I got faith in the old North Iowa
Yeah.
weather here.
Any further comments, questions for Scott? Thank you, Scott. Therefore, entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2405, a resolution approving contract and bonds for the 2010 North 4th Street building demolition and interim site work project. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Creighton, that we approve Resolution 2405, and that's the contract would be with Charleston Excavating, amount $168,144. Is there any further discussion? Roll call. Dana?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Creighton?
Yes.
Beth Ann?
Yes.
And Bennett?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Resolution 2405 is duly adopted. Chief, report? You want, okay. If we could have Officer Gray, if you would come forward, I'll come down and we'll go through the oath. If you would please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Brendan Gray,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa
and the ordinances of the City of Clear Lake,
and the ordinances of the City of Clear Lake,
and will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
of police officer for the City of Clear Lake
of police officer for the City of Clear Lake
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my abilities,
and that I will serve
and that I will serve
the citizens of the United States,
the citizens of the United States
State of Iowa,
and the State of Iowa
and the City of Clear Lake
and the City of Clear Lake
honestly and faithfully,
honestly and faithfully,
and will obey the orders
and will obey the orders
of the officers and officials
of the officers and officials
placed over me according to law.
placed over me according to law.
Congratulations, officer. Welcome to Clear Lake.
I just wanted to welcome the new council members. Nice to have you in front of me instead of behind me this time. And then I just wanted to go over, we ended 2023. We had a great year, and I just went through some preliminary numbers for the police department today. And we finished the year about 1,000 calls ahead of where we were the year before, about 130 cases, investigative cases ahead of where we were last year. So we've got about 1,000 and 130. So that's about right. We're about 1.5 to, about 13 to 15% of our calls we get pulling cases on too, so we're right there in that number there too for us. So we'll compile a yearly annual report and get that out to you guys hopefully at the end of the month or sometime in beginning of February with the actual details. But those are just preliminary numbers for us too. So it goes to show we've talked about a couple times up here about how busy we were this summer and where things are going well. So that's all I had for you really. I will say congratulations, Officer Gray. He did finish in the top 25% of his class academically. So kudos to him for actually studying there when he was down at the academy, and we'll look forward to putting all of his knowledge to use on the streets of Clear Lake and Ventura. So, thank you.
Thank you. Once again, pleased to have you, officer. Appreciate it. Public Works, Jeremy Kornberg, Director. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I'll reiterate Captain Colby's, or Chief Colby's comments on the new council members. Welcome, and if you ever have any questions for me or need any information, feel free to ask. I know I have quite a few conversations with Dana and Bennett and Mark even on a lot of topics, so just go ahead and reach out and I'll try to give you an answer. One of the updates I was going to give was about the pre-con that we had for the demo, so Scott covered most of that. I don't know if you mentioned storm sewer with the weather, they might get that in, so some good things there. I guess the one notice would be we will have our Christmas tree pickup next week. So I've seen some already out and around. So we'll start that and do that all on Monday. Just a reminder that if there are lights on the tree, they will not be picked up, as well as if they are in any bag or plastic or cardboard, anything like that, they will not be picked up. It just has to be the tree is it. So
But other than that, not too much, unless you have any questions for me.
No more leaf fires?
Not yet. We did find out if our public works guys had any firefighting skills, and they weren't too bad. Our water truck and our vac truck have a pretty good hose on them, I guess. So no, but yeah, don't put fire pit ashes in our leaf pile. It doesn't turn out very well.
Oh, dear.
Anything else?
Page 2, yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks.
Thank you. Under Mayor's report, just bear with me here a little bit, and just be quick, but I'd like to re-welcome Councilperson Beth Ann Schumacher and Creighton Schmidt and really the re-election of Mark Ebling. I'm excited about this council moving forward in 2024 and beyond, really, with all of you being elected for a 4-year term. I think city has elected some, or re-elected some very, very good people for them, for the citizens, and that's who we are, you know, the old of and for the citizens of our community. And I think we need to remember that many times rather than, you know, it's just a thing for us. We are the city because they're the ones who placed us here by vote. So welcome. You know, I have 2 people that are going to keep me in order on each side. They're new, and I'll probably get conked on the head by this lady with this. So anyway, as the Boy Scouts say, be prepared. 2024, real quick. You know, sometimes I've talked about the past, the present, and the future. You know, and the past is what we learn from. We don't live there, but it's what we learn from. The now is where we live, the moment. And that's must be in positive support of how we all feel, irregardless of how we vote. It comes out, we must support, I'm talking about us council now, council people. In the future, we need to plan and carry out in a positive manner, underscore positive. Sure, there are going to be some things that we all aren't going to like, but we are one body when it comes down to the end. Looking forward once again, and I put down here, stagnation dash not. You know, we cannot be stagnant. We must not be stagnant. That's what we're placed here for. To do the business like we're doing tonight. What we're doing tonight is doing the business of the city. That's what this is all about. And we must carry that onward. As we plan, and we have to plan, we don't just fly by the seat of our pants, as my grandfather used to say. You must do some planning ahead. And we need, once again, what is the positive value of what we're planning or what project we're going to do to our city and our citizens? One in each of those, they are all one. With regard to infrastructure, even resurfacing, believe it or not, would we do so many miles this year, and we try to do that each year or every other year and plan ahead for that. Housing, we just talked about that tonight. Very, very important, and still will be important, ad infinitum, you might say. The Surf District project, let's get behind that. Let's get behind that. That will change this community in a positive manner. Subdivision that we just talked about and have made some approvals tonight with regard to Emerald Edge. We didn't talk tonight about Courtway Place, or what do we call it? Park, but that's another one. Collaboration. You know, I use that word sometimes too much, but with the school, which we do, with the chamber, which we do, with the Clear Lake Fire Department, which we do, the Clear Lake Police Department, which we do, and all of our city departments. We are all one. We need everyone expressing, and that means showing, as well as speaking, in a positive attitude now and in the future. all of the citizens need to jump on board with that. All of our city departments need to jump on board with that. And we also need to be very supportive of our administrative staff. We're all gathered together now, it seems, out there at Pritchard's. It's very handy for us to go up and down, but, you know, that is where a lot of things happen that get carried out by what this council asks for. And so if we ask them to do that, then we must be supportive of what they are doing. You know, and going back to that again, when what was it, a couple of weeks ago, Scott, we went down to IEDA, and that was, as I come out of that meeting, and we've had several of them, that was a huge reason for why, what I just said, a huge reason for why we received that $4.3 million grant of our $10 or $11,000 million project that got us that money. You know who else got that money? Davenport and Marshalltown. Compare the sizes. Davenport, Marshalltown, Clear Lake. They indicated, they being the heads of the IEDA that we met with that particular day, said, by far, you have the best project, Clear Lake. By far. Right? Saying that's easy. That's easy. Now we have to carry it through. Now we have to see it come to fruition. The city that supports and shows how to develop positive attitudes, and thus they then build a real sense of community. You must have community before you can implement any political strategy. It has to be there, or it doesn't. Call it a critical mass, if you will, but nothing happens unless you have that. You know, one last thing. It's not up to us individually, or you individually, council, but it is the council taking care of business now and in the future for the citizens of Clear Lake. That's the bottom line for the citizens of Clear Lake. I'm done. Thank you. Citizen. City Administrator Report, Mr. Flory. Here we go.
Were you going to appoint Dennis? Forgot that piece.
Well, do you think we should? I've got two, really. First one, we don't need to vote on this one, but I've appointed Dana once again to be our rep to the North Iowa landfill. Is that what they call that?
Yes. North Iowa
And
landfill.
Dana's going to go, even though they don't give out free meals anymore. So,
That's a bummer.
that's
Pay a
good.
little.
And now, I'd like to have your approval, council. Do we need council approval of, that I have appointed Councilman Bennett Smith as our mayor pro tem for the year 2024. Can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Dana, seconded by Mark, that we approve the appointment. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Mark?
Yes.
Creighton?
Yes.
Beth Ann?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
Can't vote for yourself. You're in, Bennett. You're in. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I appreciate
He will be
that.
a great fill-in when I'm down there with, maybe Mac will invite me up.
There you go.
Welcome.
Well, you got a free calendar, so I'm going to say something now. Again, I want to thank the council, too. The fire department certainly wants to thank the council for your support, Scott and Jenna for yours, Mayor for yours, and the old bucks of the council. I appreciate the work you guys done, Beth Ann and Creighton. If you need something from the fire department, please let us know. We'll certainly try to provide whatever needs to be done to get the job done. I want to say a belated thank you to Mike and Gary. Going to miss Mike, not having him here. The stories he can tell. You won't miss many of them, probably, but once in a while it's nice to hear that. Year-to-date for us was 1,580. That's a lot of calls. That's about 18% higher than it was last year. So we're going right down the road. I think the fact that we've got two ambulance staff now, 14 hours a day, has made a big difference as far as certainly for the volunteers. I mean, if you think about that 1580 calls and 90% or 95% of those are EMS calls, if we only had one staff and those number of calls, our volunteers would be running to death, and it doesn't serve the community very well if we can have to take that long to get there and so forth. So it's great to have that second staff in there. We've got 3 new firefighters. They're up and going, doing a pretty good job. They're rookies, but they're learning. They're coming to training. They're doing their job, which is really good. Our new EMS staff is doing a great job. They really are. We've got some really young people on that, some enthusiastic people that come aboard, and they're doing some great things as far as training over there for that. We had one retirement. Jason Lucas is retired from the fire department for 10 years. He has a job. Had a big job change, and I think he just couldn't commit to the hours that we really need, and so he's retired after 10 years. So we'll be getting him some special awards next year at our annual Christmas party and so forth. We will be doing some training with the area firefighters come February. We're doing a Firefighter 1 training class. We'll be using our training house, firehouse, and I think, Jeremy, if we can use your building again on that Sunday, we do some inside training. It's nice to be able to get the guys inside, do some training, so we're doing some of that. Will work out really good. Doug, I told you, I think, before, the truck should be here January 10th. Hopefully it'll get here. We can get it all switched over, take the old gear off, the gear off our old truck and put on that one. Certainly come on and take a look at it. When it gets in town, we'll let you know. I'm sure Doug will let you know when it's here. You come on over and take a look at it. It should be a big improvement to what we have now, I think. It's going to be really good. The burn building, again, we're using that as much as we can, depending on which way the wind's out of. We're going to do some ice rescue training coming up. And one other thing, I thought I'd pass along kind of an interesting fire out here at our new hotel. We did have a fire in the hallway out there in the trash bin from the staff was using. It's also kind of helpful to have a videotape the entire situation. You know exactly what happened, but they had cleaned some rooms on the first floor, and some people had changed some 9-volt batteries out of some equipment they had with them and threw it in the trash, along with a lithium battery from either a car fob or a phone or a watch. And they brought the cart up the second floor, and those 9-volt batteries made contact with that lithium battery, and they exploded and set the cart on fire. But fortunately, the sprinkler system went off, did its job exactly like it was supposed to do. Put a lot of water on it. We had one gentleman there that was a guest who found out how much water a sprinkler can put out when he came down the hallway. He got drenched, but he did put the fire out. But it was an interesting fire call. From the fact just the 9-volt battery making contact with lithium battery. So it was nice to be able to see it on. We've used it now as a training prop. We'll be able to use that at a little bit of training. But again, if there's anything you guys need from us, please let us know. We're working real hard. We're going to have we're working right now on our 2026 9/11 ceremony. It'll be 25 years, and so we're looking for some real dynamic speaker for that. We hope to have the Iowa Veterans Band here to perform with that. If we can get them signed up for that, it's a 2-year project. Hopefully we can get them up here. And the only other thing I got to say is go Packers.
Mike, Doug, in that report Doug gave us, those incidences were really high. Is that the highest you've had it for a month?
1580 for the year?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the year, yeah, for the year.
That's 18% higher than it was last year. So last year was a pretty good year. I mean, yeah, that's a lot of calls. You think about 1580, 365, that's a lot of calls per day. When we were getting 4 and 5 calls a day, and without that second ambulance running, we'd have been swamped. I mean, even, sending Mason City over here with their rescue, with their ambulances too, we'd have been swamped. But working with 2 shifts, our guys, it makes a big difference for our volunteers, that's for sure.
That EMS is critical, the number of people and expertise that we have there then.
It's a lot of calls, but that's, to be honest with you, I think they like it. I think they like the calls. I mean,
They're good, they're good.
They
yeah.
do they do a really good job, and like I said, the new staff is excellent. They've got some really young guys, young people on there, and they're doing a really good job. So, all right.
In my mind, that total number of incidences is the most we've ever had then.
Yeah, it is.
That's critical,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
You bet.
Mr. Flory, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd also like to welcome Beth Ann and Creighton. As everyone said, I'm really excited about both of you being on the council. Looking forward to the next 4 years with you. So, just a couple of things tonight, Your Honor. I just wanted to mention the City Hall upgrade that we're doing here. We had a construction conference this afternoon with the project architect and the contractor, and mostly, again, just demolition work has been taking place. Of course, we ran into some asbestos, so that had to be removed. That took about a week to 10 days to get all of that out of here. But Jennifer and I both went through a walkthrough, and it's changing a lot. The walls are coming down, so the next week or so, going to be a lot more activity in there on the demolition. And then they'll have some of the steel studs starting to go up and really kind of start taking more of a shape there at that point. And then the new back door where our conference room is going to be cut in, so that'll be a different change to see that door there where one has never been. But all in all, pretty good progress being made on that project. So I had on that, and Jacob is going to review with you. We did finally get our fiscal year 25 valuation report from the county, so Jacob's going to briefly review that with you here tonight, and so that gives us kind of the springboard to start working on our budget more. Now we've got department head budget meetings scheduled for the 4th, so we'll do most all day on that one with department heads, and then we'll start working with you to get some dates picked out for workshops for the council on budget. So
Welcome.
Yeah, so Mayor, Council, thanks. I'll try not to take too much time as I'm right at the end of the meeting here, but it's always exciting for me at the end of the year to see the valuations come in and see kind of where the community's heading. It gives us a good gauge of, are we growing, are we shrinking, what's going on? And we got some really good numbers this year. So for total valuations, last year, we were looking at $1,368,000,000, and then for this year, total valuations jumped up to $1,694,000,000. So that is a 24% increase in valuations, and so that's just really a good gauge to show, as a community, we are growing, and with how many communities across the state aren't, it's just exciting to see that. There's 24% is a huge number. When I look back over our prior history, we've had steady growth. I think the lowest year looking at it has been 3% in the last 10 years. Otherwise, it's been higher than that. And 24 is the highest we've had. Last year was 11%, and then this year is 24% growth. So great growth. Our largest valuation class is residential. So the residential valuation class is almost 1.4 billion. So it's 80-some% of the total valuations. But I do want to point out on the industrial side, we saw almost a 40% increase on that, so great growth there. So just really good news overall. And as a reminder, just because valuations went up that much doesn't mean taxes will go up that much. There's rollback factors that factor into how much tax you pay. Statewide, there has been some good growth this year. So the rollback this year, last year it was almost 55%. This year we're all the way down to 46%. So of total valuations on residential, only 46% of that's going to be taxable. So it kind of helps to lessen that tax burden, I guess.
just throw in on that, that is actually the single largest drop ever in the rollback, the residential rollback. it has never gone down by that big of a percentage. So one report that I read, and Jacob, you probably read the same report, was that in order to offset that drop in the rollback, your valuations would have to grow by about 18% to offset that 8+% drop in the residential rollback. So as Jacob mentioned, we had higher growth than that 18%, but then we are also a little bit further restrained because the state has put a bit of a cap on that as well. As Jacob mentioned, the numbers are indicative of good, positive growth and valuation appreciation in our community, but we're not able to really capitalize on all of that when it comes to purposes of property taxation because of these limiting factors like the rollback and then this 3% allowable growth cap that the state has put on us. But yeah, I just wanted to point out that again, despite that growth, which is impressive, we would have to have an 18% growth just to offset the decrease in the rollback.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, the state did make a lot of changes to property tax law and to what cities can do last legislative session. And so a lot of that takes effect for this next budget year coming up, which will be for fiscal year 24-25. So as we get into that this month and over the next upcoming months, we'll go into a little more details of that. But yeah, it does kind of, we can't capture nearly as much of that growth as we have been able to in the past.
Any further comments, questions for Jacob? Thank you, Jason. Good report. Appreciate it. Scott?
No.
Okay. Anything further, council? Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for your